I'm Janelle and this is Sophia, and we are out here at Emergent Abundance Spar Hill Farm. And I just wanted to do an overview video of, you made it to the farm, now what? If you come here by yourself and you're new, just some of the barriers to getting started that I ran into being a new member. I wanted to eliminate those for you, so we'll get started with opening the shed. So you've made it to the farm, and the first thing you got to do is get into the shed so you can gather your tools that you need to work on the garden. And in order to open up the shed, there is a combination lock here, and that combination can be found on the Basecamp app. So you open up that app, get the combination, and then you can unlock the door, and your first barrier, you're through it. You get into the shed. So you walk through the door, and immediately here to your right is tools that you would need to get into the garden and do work with. So right here we have the kid-sized tools. So if you bring your kids out here with you, we have small versions of all of the common tools that we use. We have handheld tools beside that. These are more for adults. So if you do bring your children in here, just be mindful that there are sharp tools here. And then up against this side of the wall, we have all of the rakes and hoes and shovels, whatever you may need to do your work in the garden. There are more hand tools up here and little knives to harvest with hanging over here on the ladder. A wheelbarrow, it's easy to just load everything up in the wheelbarrow and take it down instead of individually carrying down the tools you need. All right, once you open the shed and get the tools that you need, the next step is to come on down to the garden. And the garden is protected by an electric fence. That's just to keep the deer out. And so if you're unsure of whether the electric fence is on or not, it's always just safest to come over here to this solar box. And you'll see there's this button here, and right now it's blinking green, which means that the electric fence is on, and you turn it off just by pressing the button, and then you'll see it blink red, and then it won't blink anymore. And the fence is off. You can touch it, and you're not gonna get zapped. All right, the next step once you're through the gate and into the garden is what is in the garden, how to orient yourself. And we have all this stuff on Basecamp, but if you're here, we also have this bucket by the water container, and inside of it you will find this black notebook, and this is where we store all of our information on the individual rows in the plant beds, and when we planted the seeds, how it's germinating, how it's growing. And then you can also find maps that orient you, like analog maps that orient you to where you are in the garden and what each field is. So you can see here, this shows the big heart garden, which is the main area, as well as the gardens around the outside, the fields around the outside of the heart garden. And inside of this notebook, you see the coordinating numbers of which bed is referenced on the map. This is the big map, sorry. And this is the more granular map that details what each bed is inside of the heart garden. So for example, if you're here and you're working on bed 10, orient yourself to the map in bed 10, what sort of plant was seeded there. For this specific example, bed 10 was cilantro, and you annotate like if you harvest it or if you have planted something else instead. You want to annotate that in this book so that when someone arrives here and they want to understand what's happening with the individual beds in the garden, they can always reference this, and this is like the source of truth. The other area you can find this information is on Basecamp, but the more detailed information on seeding and planting and the growth of the individual beds is found here in the manual inside the garden. Basecamp is for just more general messages shared about what you've done in the garden when you come and visit, or any progress that's been made. And then just ensure that when you do put this away, that you secure the lid to make sure that it remains waterproof. And then this always stays out here so that anybody who comes into the garden can orient themselves and get to work.